Hello everyone, Michelle Francesca, Inspiration for Life. This video is part one of a series, Divine Revolution. And today we're going to be talking about excavating the treasures. I believe if we want to enter fully equipped into the age that we're transitioning into, that Paul referred to as the coming age in Hebrews 6, we may need to fully glean from the age, the eon that we're moving from. We may need to extract and excavate and receive freely the treasures, the mystical revelation, the mystery that was then, all those hundreds of years ago, being made known, but may still not really be reaching us, something that we're not fully awakened to. So we're going to talk about that today. This mystery that was hidden in God, hidden by God, some versions say, is Christ in you. The hope, the expectation, the confidence of glory, of doxa, which is worth and God's opinion toward us. I think it's worth mentioning here that Jesus said in John 17:22, and that whole passage, Father, he's praying, the glory, the doxa, the opinion, the worth that you've given me, I've given it to them so they can be one as we are one. You in me in them. The world will know that you sent me, you love me, and you love them, that's us, just as you love me. That's really worth excavating. This Christ in us assurance is very important for us to have, to be embodying as we move into this current age that we're transitioning now into. At the end of last year, I did a message, Slate Wiped Clean, building a new landing strip. And boy, some slates and tables are being wiped clean, aren't they? We are doing a lot of unlearning. We're doing a lot of undoing about things that have really prevented us from embodying Christ in us. And these tables are about to get flipped and we need to be ready. There's a whole new value system that's getting established. I think about how Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness. And there he faced the devil, or the diablos. Let's look at what diablos is. The accuser, the separator, the relationship severer. That's at the heart of the meaning of diablos. I don't think that we're necessarily talking about a red-suited horned entity as so much a power that seeks to infiltrate and separate us from our true identity. And there Jesus faced that diablos and came out in the power of the Spirit, came out fully established, realizing, actualizing his Son of God, Son of Man stature in the earth. And I believe that many of us have been facing the wilderness of our own psyche, looking at the monsters under the bed, facing the darkness within us, realizing there is only one power, but that maybe for a long period of time we've been giving power to certain aspects, being in fear, fearing ourselves, fearing the beautiful qualities in ourselves as much as we're fearing the dark qualities in ourselves. And we're realizing, wait, there's only one power. And I can face this relationship severing diablos head on and not be separated from the truth of who I am as the offspring of God, as made in God's image and likeness, knowing that nothing can separate me from the love of God in Christ. And we are now coming out of our wildernesses, conquering the psyche of our own mind, and saying, no, we'll no longer be severed from who we really are, the truth of our identity. It's causing us to rework our whole value system. There's a lot of undoing. There's a lot of unlearning of things that we've bought into that are keeping us dumbed down and dimmed down. Every resource is being used collectively and individually to drag us into the fight ring, to keep us in separation mode, this versus that, to sever us from our wholeness, our holiness, the Christ in us power. But the graduated masters are here, arising, shining at their appointed time, forerunners of this truth, helping us shift and bridge from an old era into a new. Excavating the treasure of a former age that we haven't even fully walked in for hundreds and hundreds of years. And the message to us is, stay in your divine connection. Hold that line, hold that light. Don't try to argue it out or persuade, just stand in that light of who you are. And as people see that, they will catch on, that light will spark in them, and they'll be awakened to the mystery of the former age that we're now taking with us. To further frame this extraction of treasure that I'm talking about today, I want to use two scripture passages. One is 2 Corinthians 4:4 and the other is Ephesians 1:18. 2 Corinthians 4:4 talks about the God of this world. World here is not a good translation. It's really age. The God of this age that Paul is talking about hundreds of years ago. He's referring to a God of an age. And when we're talking about an age, we're talking about a present cycle, a cycle of time, as contrasted with a future age and a series of ages stretching into infinity. So we know that ages come and go. And Paul is talking right after Jesus' ascension, and he's talking about an age, a God of this age, a God, a theos, in fact, not Satan, not some worldly forces, as we've perhaps heard before, but a theos of an age, referring to a supreme being who owns and sustains all things. You check it out for yourself. Has blinded the minds, the pneuma, the purposes, the design, the hearts, the soul of the unbelieving, those who are unpersuaded from divine in-birthings. Those in-birthings are nudging, but they can't seem to conceive. That's the unbelieving. Now, what kind of God are we talking about here? We are talking about a theos of an age. Surely the God that Jesus came to present in his new timeline, in the entrance of his new eon that he was bringing about, was a father of compassion, a father of comfort, a father from whom nothing, not life, nor death, nor any created thing can separate us from this love, the God of love. This is not the kind of God that blinds minds, who keeps people cut off from their own purposes, who keeps us separated from God himself, in-birthing faith within us. Surely not. So what kind of God are we talking about here? Could it be, and I want to suggest this to you, that the God of that age, that former age that Paul was saying blinded our minds, could be that mixture, that projected imagery of a God of partially or wholly man's making, in his image and likeness, twisted, man-made concepts of God, heavily influenced by man's split left brain, right brain, dialectical tree of knowledge of good and evil thinking, and not the Father, the love, the I am life source that Jesus came to introduce. You know, Jesus said to the Pharisees who sought to keep people from this enlightenment that Jesus was bringing about people's identities, son, he would call them, daughter, and they're furious and they want their religious control system to be kept intact. And Jesus says to them, you're of your father, the devil. You're of a spirit that separates. You're of the relationship severer. Why are you getting in the way of people understanding who they really are as the sons and daughters of God? What if the God of the passing age that Paul spoke about hundreds and hundreds of years ago was a God that was that mixture of man-made thinking, a God that was a far cry from the true, limitless Christ? And what are we going to do with those limiting beliefs that are keeping us blinded from our own design? That are keeping us blinded from our own purposes in the earth? I think it's time we release them, no longer cling to them like a child stuck in immaturity, but that we come now into the unity of the faith, the unity that already exists. It's not something we have to work up. It's already there. We create the barriers to the unity. It's time for us to come into that knowledge, that experiential knowledge of the Son of God, where Christ in us, to that mature manhood. Oh, hear this, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. So that we'll no longer be children tossed to and fro by waves and winds of doctrine and denominationalism and man-made concepts and craftiness and deceitful schemes and power plays and control systems, but that we'll truly recognize who we are and build each other up in love. Yes, the God of that age that Paul talked about, that theos, blinded minds so they could not see, orgazo in the Greek, so they could not shine forth, so they could not appear white. Think of the transfiguration. So they could not shine forth the light, the enlightenment. The cognate says they could not embody the source of their illumination. Our minds have been blinded so that we will not shine forth the light of the good news, God's good news, the glad tidings of the kingdom, of the glory. There it is again, of Christ, who is in us, who is the image of God. 2 Corinthians 4:4. Colossians 1:27, the mystery of the ages revealed, Christ in you, the hope, the confidence of this glory, this oneness that Jesus so openly and graciously gave to us, this opinion of God towards us as it was toward Jesus. So let our prayer be this, so that we be fully equipped going into this new eon. Let the eyes of our heart, let the ophthalmos, the mind's eye, the eyes of our heart be open now, be illuminated. Let's have an awareness of the greater part of us, the spirit being that we are in the earth suit, that part of us that has been muffled, straitjacketed, shamed, invalidated by religion for hundreds of years, dimmed, kept down, and all throughout the centuries, those who did dare shine their light, who discovered who they really were, who would not let that diablos, relationship severing power get the better of them, but stood firm in their identity in God. They were called devil. They were burnt at the stake often. Isn't that ridiculous? Talk about evil being called good and good being called evil. But we have come to a place where we are saying no more. We cannot expand. We cannot do what we're here to do while we hold two opinions and allow tradition to nullify the living word in us. And we're praying, we're opening, allowing the opening of the eyes of our hearts so that we would know and be aware, live in an awareness, an ongoing awareness and perception of the confidence of our invitation, of this calling, the riches, the abundance, materially and spiritually, of the glory, of the doxa, of the opinion of God, of the worth that we are in the inheritance in his holy people. That's us. And that we would know the surpassing greatness of God's power toward us as we believe that, as we lay hold of that, as we persuaded of that moment by moment by moment. We're talking, friends, about a divine revelation of our design. We're talking about a revealing, a revelation of the sons of God, first to ourselves and then into the earth for the liberty of the creation. Are you a forerunner of that today? I believe if you're watching this, you very well could be. And you're going to step up into this now. A divine revelation leading to a divine revolution. A full circling back to the very beginning. God made man in his image and likeness, never rescinded, now fully awakening to us as our minds are no longer blinded. And all of this is leading to a divine intervention. What is that divine intervention? What is this divine intervention that we've been praying for? Friends, I believe it's not something that's coming from the outside of us. I believe it's the awakening that the divine intervention we're looking for is actually us ourselves. Christ in you. The expectation, the hope, the anticipation, the confidence of glory being shared abundantly to all people. And in part 2, I'm going to talk about power to the people. And we're going to look at what that means for us on every level of our being going forward. I hope that you have grasped this today, that you've been encouraged by this today, and that you will excavate this treasure, this mystery that was hidden, was then revealed hundreds of years ago, that we're now going to take hold of freely and take with us into this transition, into this new eon. If you enjoyed this video, please check out others on my YouTube channel. I believe you'll be encouraged. And follow me on Facebook, Michelle Francesca Cohen. I do an interview program every Tuesday that I think that you will love, and various other programs as well. And I want for you to continue to be encouraged in the truth of your identity. Come and join me there. Check out part 2 when I post it shortly. Good to see you today. God bless.